It's hard to find an opening to my story. A tale of a small cog in the history of our region. I can only write my own private memories of these 3 years of hope and anguish. Is this a tale of triumph or defeat? The ending to our story has not yet been written.
On March 94, we headed back to the negotiating table. Since the wave of suicide bombings, Israel has put 2.5 million Palestinians under closure. Poverty was rising throughout the occupied territories and living conditions declining. Our people were losing faith in the peace process, but I knew we must not give up.
בעתיד, זה נושא לפתרון הקבע. כל החוכמה היום וכל המשא ומתן עם הפלסטינאים שלא עוסקים בנושאים המרכזיים של פתרון הקבע. אם נעסוק בעניין של פתרון הקבע היום, הכל יתחזק.
Despite the blood and the violence, the process had a force of its own. And on May 94, we set out to sign the Gaza-Jericho Agreement, granting the Palestinians self-rule in Gaza.
After 8 months of talks, the stage was finally set. Egypt President Mubarak provided a suitably dramatic setting for the ceremony in Cairo.
The morning of the signing of the Gaza-Jericho Agreement, Faisal and I were being interviewed in Jerusalem while watching a live broadcast of the ceremony. On my way to the interview, I was held up by the Israeli soldiers at the checkpoints. Someone said to me, "This is your idea of peace? Tell the old man not to sign. Tell him to come wait at the checkpoint and sign it here, along with the rest of us." I stared at the screen and wondered, is this a celebration of the birth of the peace process, or its burial?
Both sides appeared to have sorted out differences over the Gaza Strip and Jericho, but within minutes it was clear that the deal, like the stage positions, was not going to plan.
Ladies and gentlemen, the signing of the Gaza-Jericho self-rule agreement.
And I'm sitting there and I see Arafat signing the documents, signing the documents, signing the document, all the documents, and then the guy that assisted him brought the maps, he looked at them, opened, didn't sign, closed it, and went back to stand, and Rabin was walking to do the same. So I walk up the stairs, and I stand next to Rabin, and as he begins to sign, I open it, and then I whisper in his ear without trying not to show any excitement, because everything was recorded and filmed. And I told him Arafat did not sign the maps. So he says, "So what does it mean?" I responded, "It means that there is no agreement."
Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin examines the documents, called over Foreign Minister Shimon Peres, and also refused to sign. For a while, it seemed as if the entire ceremony was about to collapse.
Because we had not been a part of that channel, we didn't fully appreciate what the gaps were between the two sides. Israel saw this as a devolution of power as the Palestinians proved themselves. Palestinians saw this as, we have to show this is a new day. And as a new day, we have to have all the trappings of statehood, even if we don't have it formal yet. So immediately they wanted, they didn't want controls over crossing points. They wanted immediately to say, the Israelis are out of our lives.
What happened with Arafat, that in all the negotiations, he says, la, la, la.
He says, no. What I did, I was at very good terms with Mubarak. They wanted peace seriously. So I would go to them and says, again, he said no. They would call him up and said, stop it.
After a brief interval, the PLO leader was assured that the size of the Jericho region was still under negotiation. He signed the document and added a few comments. Finally, with the briefest of handshakes, a deal was done at the very last minute.
On July 1st, 1994, Yasser Arafat returned to his home and reclaimed his position as the Palestinian leader. It was an ambivalent return. He came back and had to govern Palestine, which was divided and driven apart. Or perhaps Israel brought him back in order to control him. What was the price we had to pay for his return home? Was this one of Oslo's minefields? Or was it the first step toward peace and the liberation of Palestine?
As we made our way to Palestine, my heart pounded and I was choked with the emotion of the moment. I wept as I had never wept before, kissing and hugging all my relatives and friends. The last time I met my father in Jordan, I hinted that I might be coming home soon. He cried and raised his hand, swearing he will prepare a feast on my return. My sadness was that my father had passed away just 4 months earlier, after waiting to my return for so many years. Soon I called Uri. I said I am finally back in my childhood home. He greeted me with the Arab words of welcome, Ahlan wa sahlan, and told me he was truly pleased to hear my voice. We have become neighbors at last.
One week after Abu Alaz returned to Abu Dis, we met once again in Taba. This time, in order to negotiate the second stage of the Oslo process, Israel's withdrawal from the West Bank. I spread out the maps we had kept secret until then. The Oslo Accord stated Israel will withdraw from most of the West Bank within a year, and the Palestinians were expecting to receive control over the land immediately. But Israel demanded a gradual withdrawal and offered the Palestinians full control on only 2% of the land. The remaining 98% will be controlled by the Israeli army. Arafat stared at the map silently, and then announced that it was an unbearable humiliation. "These are prison camps," he yelled. "You want to destroy me." With those words, Arafat left the room.
"What you are suggesting deviates from the signed agreement," I shouted. "You keep 98% of the land? We won't accept that. You can enforce this approach on Arafat and push him into a corner. But remember this, a one-sided agreement will not last."
Abu Ala stood up without saying another word and summoned his driver. We exchanged a polite and cold handshake, and we each went our separate ways. As hours went by, we waited nervously in the hotel's lobby. Some Israeli reporters informed us that Arafat had issued a statement about the talks collapsing. We were all on edge, but refused to cave in.
עכשיו זה עניין של ההחלטה. רוצים הסכם או לא רוצים הסכם. שני נושאים עיקריים על הפרק, נושא חברון, נושא מפות. אני מניח שנדע, או תוך שעות, או תוך יום, או תוך ימים, אבל אנחנו בסיומו ממש של משא ומתן בשלב ההכרעה הסופית.
Later that evening, Arafat's personal assistant came rushing towards me. Arafat asked that you come to Abu Alaa's room immediately, she said. He's collapsed. I rushed to Abu Alaa's room and found him lying in bed, pale as a ghost, trembling, nodding in and out of consciousness. Hold on, my friend, I whispered. I need you to stay with me. The doctors found Abu Alaa's collapse to be a result of extreme fatigue caused by the many hours of negotiations. But I knew the truth. The map I presented to him had broken his heart.
There was something very personal in peacemaking. It wasn't a political festival. It wasn't a political ambition. It was a very human ambition. There's a symbolic picture where people went to Israeli tanks in the streets and put olive branches. The tanks that destroyed your lives and your homes, the army that killed your kids and oppressed you. People went out and gave them flowers and gave them olive branches and felt that this was it. This is the end of the conflict. This is the end of the occupation. It was a moment of hope, a moment of promise, but people's hopes were dashed, and it didn't materialize into a reality. So yes, of course, I feel sad and responsible.
יום אחד אני נוסע למשרד, אומרים לי המאבטחים, היה פיצוץ אוטובוס, נסענו לשם. כל הכיכר הייתה שטופת דם, עדיין היו גופות, חלקי גופות, וילדות ובכי. היו שם אלפי אנשים. כשאני נכנסתי, התחילו לצרוח. רוצח, תראה מה שעשית לנו. בוגד, תראה מה שעשית לנו.
I had a meeting with Yair and Ron. We all felt that the time was running out and that we had to act fast. We agreed on deliberations that would lead to a permanent agreement, utilizing the same framework we used in Oslo. Quick, discreet talks, and no empty slogans. Mahmoud Abbas and I deliberated over the drafts for almost 2 years. Behind the scenes, without the racket of the Taba Hotel, we touched on the most sensitive points of the process for the very first time. At least theoretically, we had a document in our hands with a comprehensive solution. A withdrawal to the 67 borders, the establishment of a Palestinian state, of course, keeping the settlement blocks intact, and making Jerusalem the capital of both nations. My plan was to set up a meeting with Rabin. I told him that I would like to meet with him about the permanent solution. And he said, as soon as possible. So I told him, let's do it when I return from the United States on Saturday, November 11th. No one could have guessed under what circumstances that meeting would take place.
On September 5th, we reassembled in Taba. I must admit, after our last encounter, I wasn't looking forward to another round of this endless boxing match. We were stressed, exhausted, and most of all, fed up. It was not long before the negotiation, once again, deteriorated to an exchange of accusations.
It was the nastiest meeting I've ever been in my life. We just wanted to be anywhere but in that room. As I was leaving the room, I turned around, and the Israeli and Palestinian delegations are talking to each other and having a cup of coffee. I think it underscores the point that part of what happens in negotiations is the humanization of the other side. You no longer see just the quote-unquote enemy, but you see a person. And you learn about that person's family and their ups and downs and their happy moments, and you get a sense of how committed they are to peace. And you never are able to translate that to the public.
That evening, we improvised a Friday prayer service. We lit candles, and much to the astonishment of the Palestinians, Zinger recited the Kiddush prayer. We opened with Everybody Loves Saturday Night in 3 languages. Afterwards, Abu Ala and myself joked around by imitating the Peres and Arafat conversation, while Uzi taught us how to sing My Yiddish Mame. It was nice to kid around again. Later that night, I received a call from Jerusalem. A bus exploded in the center of the capital. We sat and watched the news silently. No one said a word. 2 days later, Abu Ala called me up from his room and asked me to watch the Arab Evening News with him. We watched images of a 7-year-old boy's funeral, a boy who had been killed that day by the Israeli army. Abu Ala was right when he said that neither side has dominion over suffering. That night, Abu Ala and I reached the final draft of the Oslo B agreement.
הסכם אוסלו ב' במרכז המהדורה שלנו הערב. על ההסכם הזה חתמו אורי סביר מן הצד הישראלי ואבו עלה מן הצד הפלסטיני. על פי ההסכם ייסוג צה"ל מ6 ערים מרכזיות נוספות בגדה, נוסף ליריחו, והבחירות למועצה הפלסטינית התקיימו ככל הנראה בחודש מרס.
זה יום של הישג, אומר יצחק רבין במצב רוח מרומם. הבוקר הוא הביא את הסכם אוסלו ב' לגמר חתימה. 5 שעות נמשך הדיון בממשלה שהוגדר על ידי השרים ישיבה היסטורית על הסכם היסטורי.
היום אנו שולטים על למעלה מ2 מיליון פלסטינאים באמצעות צה"ל ומנהלים חייהם על ידי מינהל אזרחי. אין זה פתרון של שלום. אנו יכולים להמשיך להילחם. אנחנו יכולים להמשיך להרוג ולהמשיך להיהרג. אבל אנחנו גם יכולים לנסות ולהפסיק את מעגל הדמים הבלתי נגמר הזה. אנחנו יכולים לתת סיכוי לשלום.
אתה, אדוני ראש הממשלה, התבטאת לפני ימים אחדים בצורה מזעזעת. התנ"ך, אמרת, התנ"ך זה לא הטאבו שלנו. ואילו אני אומר, התנ"ך הוא הטאבו שלנו, הוא המנדט שלנו, הוא שטר הבעלות שלנו.
קהל אלפים אכן התאסף כאן כדי למחות נגד אישור הסכם הביניים ונגד מה שהמחנה הלאומי מכנה הפקרת הביטחון ונטישת חבלי מולדת.
אני שואל את הקהל העצום הזה, יש פה מישהו ביניכם שמאמין ליאסר ערפאת? אתם אומרים לא, אבל יש פה מישהו שאינו מתחשב בדעתכם. האדון רבין.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, His Majesty King Hussein of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, His Excellency Mohammed Hosni Mubarak, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, His Excellency Yitzhak Rabin, Prime Minister of Israel, Chairman Arafat.
Please, take a good, hard look. The sight you see was impossible, was unthinkable just 3 years ago. Only poets dreamt of it, and to our great pain, soldiers and civilians went to their death to make this moment possible.
These were the years of hope, when the two peace camps felt that they were somehow vindicated. They are bringing to their people the fruits.
באותו מלון, למטה, בחדר האחורי, מפגש ספונטני של ותיקי אוסלו אחד, ובהם החותמים, אבו עלה ואורי סביר.
Abu Allah, are you more optimistic now than you've been, let's say, one day after Oslo 1?
Yes, I am optimistic.
Yes?
I believe that the process we agreed together will continue, despite of all difficulties we face, but it will succeed later. We have a goodwill to push this process forward.
I concur with what Abu Allah says, and we really have no choice. And there's some good common language around this table, as you can see.
שיאו של היום בקבלת פנים חברתית של הסרת מחיצות אישיות. ועל הבמה לאה רבין מוסרת את מספר הטלפון שלה לגברת ערפאת, כימיה בין אנשים, ויצחק רבין לראשונה פונה אל ערפאת בנימה אישית בהומור.
What is a Jewish sport? And the saying is speech making. I start to believe, Chairman Arafat, that you are close to be Jewish.
Abraham is my grandfather. Abraham is my grandfather.
וערפאת מסתכל אל עיניו של יצחק רבין ועונה.
Our partner, our cousin, יצחק רבין.
ליצחק רבין ולשמעון פרס וליוסי ביבי ולחבריהם. אני אומר לכם, אנחנו נתגייס ואנחנו נצליח! אנחנו נצליח לעצור את הסכנה הזו! אנחנו נצליח! כי העם הזה הרבה יותר חזק מן הממשלה שלו!
Rabin and Arafat felt isolated in the hostile environment. The peace camp wasn't going out into the streets to protest. Instead, they chose to avoid confrontation. The peace objectors, Hamas on the Palestinian side and the Greater Israel camp on our side, now own public opinion. The face-off wasn't between Israel and the Palestinians, but between those who supported peace and those that objected to it.
רבין, אני רוצה לחזור למתנחלים. למה אתה אוהב להרגיז אותם?
על במה מאשימים אותי כעת? בהפקרת חייהם של המתנחלים. הרי פעם הסבירו שההתנחלויות זה תוספת ביטחון. איפה הביטחון? הבעיה שלנו היום לתת ביטחון למתנחלים.
אתה רואה בהם חלוצים במתנחלים?
בשום פנים לא.
אלא מה אתה רואה בהם?
אני רואה בהם אנשים שמגשימים את תפיסת עולמם הפוליטית. הם מאמינים בארץ ישראל השלמה, מה זה הציונות היום? איזה פיסטין על יד רמאללה, או הבאת 700,000 עולים בקליטתם בארץ, בניית חברה, כלכלה, לא עוד איזה יישוב קטן במוקף במאות אלפים פלסטינאים.
In early October, John Friedman, a friend of Peres, convinced him to arrange a rally in support of the peace process. Peres urged Rabin to accept the initiative, but Rabin wondered, would people even leave their homes? Those days, Rabin was more pessimistic than ever.
If too much is heard in the Middle East from the few extremists, tonight the supporters of peace emerged in a huge rally in Tel Aviv. This is the young Israel, tired of army service, tired of chasing Palestinian stone-throwing children through refugee camps. All sides are mobilizing, for this is now becoming one of the most contentious moments in Israeli history.
For the first time, perhaps, the surprise is fading, and there is a popular momentum for peace.
זה היום המאושר ביותר בחייו. הכרתי אותו 50 שנה. אף פעם לא ראיתי אותו כל כך מאושר. הוא בא למקום עם הרבה מאוד ספקות, הוא לא ידע אם יגיע הרבה קהל, הוא לא ידע איך הקהל יתנהג. ולהפתעתו הנעימה באו המונים, וההתלהבות הייתה אדירה. נערים ונערות קפצו לבריכה עם הבגדים, והיללו ושיבחו אותו ואת השלום, וקצת אותי. הכרתי אותו 50 שנה, אף פעם לא ראיתי אותו שר. והפעם הראשונה בחיי שראיתי שר. שנינו שרנו, שנינו לא זמרים מי יודע מה. ואחר כך הוא גם חיבק אותי כפי שלא חיבק אותי אף פעם אחת בחיים. ממש לא ראיתי כל כך מאושר, כמו בערב הזה.
תרשו לי לומר שאני גם מתרגש. אני רוצה להודות לכל אחת ואחת מכם שהתייצב כאן כנגד האלימות ובעד השלום.
כשנגמרה העצרת, אני התחלתי לרדת מדרגות. כשהגעתי, הרכב שלי עמד לפני הרכב שלו. ליד הרכב שלו עמד הנהג שלו. שאלתי אותו, איפה יצחק? הוא אומר, הנה כאן. אני מסתכל, הוא היה 10 מטרים ממני, 12 מטרים ממני. נכנסתי לאוטו, הניעו את האוטו, רק סגרנו את הדלת, שמענו 3 יריות.
אם כן, אנחנו רואים עכשיו חומר בלתי ערוך שהגיע מכיכר מלכי ישראל, הפרטים שיש לנו עד כה. נורו יריות לעבר ראש הממשלה בכיכר מלכי ישראל, 3 יריות נשמעו שם. ארגון יהודי נוקם הודיע כי הוא ירה בראש הממשלה, ואנחנו עדיין אוספים פרטים, לא ברור לנו כרגע מה מצבו של ראש הממשלה.
נכנסתי לבית החולים, שם הייתה לאה, המשפחה וחברים קרובים. ומנהל בית החולים לקח אותי הצידה ואמר, מצב קשה מאוד, כמעט נואש. וכעבור כמה רגעים הבא ואמר לי שזה הסוף. נכנסנו לחדר שבו הוא היה מוטל על אלונקה, מכוסה סדין. ראינו את פניו, נח, שקט. אפילו עם קצת חיוך סרקסטי על השפתיים, או חיוך כזה של השלמה. נשקתי לו על המצח. יצאתי.
You know, these people were fighting each other. They don't recognize each other. They kill each other and so on. It wasn't a play. But then later I saw Rabin's meeting with Arafat. I saw meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. I was there every single meeting. And I saw how the relationships developed. After the day when Rabin was assassinated, Arafat told me they assassinated the peace process in Israel. And I disagreed with him. I told him, no, Israel is not about an individual. It's about institutions. It's about this. Have replacements and so on. And he did like this with his hand and told me they assassinated the peace process.
Peres was not himself. Was not himself. He was very sad, deeply sad. He was already the prime minister, and on Saturday I came to his home with all the maps and all the material. And I said to him, this is the agreement that I have with Abu Mazen. I think that we can go for it. You have the exact border, you have the solution for Jerusalem, and everything else. And I think that now is the time. I mean, everybody is so confused, including ourselves, but still there is a support for peace, even more than before, as a result of the assassination. And let us use it for his memory and finish the job. And he listened to me very carefully for 2 hours. And then he said, not now. Not now. I don't think that people are ready to leave the Jordan Valley, which was part of the map, so that Israel should withdraw for the Jordan Valley. And I think that today to bring it to the people is immature. Well, it is always immature, but this is an opportunity. I was not strong enough to tell him, it is your biggest mistake, reconsider it. I did not come again to him with this. And maybe it is in me. Maybe it is part of my weakness. Maybe it was just a mistake, I don't know. But if you ask me whether I regret, I do regret it. I had apparently to fight more for the permanent agreement.
On May 5th, 1996, I found myself back in the familiar surroundings of the Hilton Taba. I wondered about the 3 years that passed since I first met Abu Allah in Oslo. Since then, our lives had become a combination of promise and anguish. The process we started had withstood tremendous trials. Since the first day in Oslo and up until this current exchange in May 96, 1,100 days of peace talks had passed. When we said our farewells that day, I never imagined that it would be my last and final meeting with Abu Allah in my official role as head of the Israeli negotiating team. If I had known it was all going to end, maybe I would have come up with something more intelligent to say to him. But all he said to Abu Ala was, "See you soon, my friend."
Nearly 80% of Israel's 4 million voters streamed to polling stations. Everyone seemed to understand why this election was important. In suburban Tel Aviv, voters chose Peres.
The peace process means hope, that he won't be in a bloody army or in a bloody war.
In the West Bank city of Hebron, Jewish settlers voted for Netanyahu.
Peres wants to give our land to the Arabs, so of course we are voting for Benjamin Netanyahu.
Tonight, those who support the steps Israel has taken toward peace are clinging to the hope that they may be the ultimate winners.
ערב טוב ושבת שלום, עכשיו זה רשמי, מהפך בבחירות 1996. ראש הממשלה הבא הוא בנימין נתניהו. הוא קיבל 50.4% מהקולות, לעומת שמעון פרס שקיבל רק 49.5%.
הממשלה בנימין נתניהו, ראש הממשלה המיועד בנימין נתניהו, עכשיו עולה ויישא את נאומו.
It's like someone building a bridge and building and building and building something that could have really changed the Middle East. And an opportunity like this comes once in 100 years, and it was wasted. I felt so bad when it all collapsed, because I held it already, and I felt, we can do it, and then it went wrong, and I knew it's not in my lifetime, probably not in my kids' lifetime, maybe the grandchildren.
ידידים, רעים, חברים, מדינת ישראל יוצאת היום לדרך חדשה.
وأنت تعد فطورك فكر بغيرك لا تنس قوت الحمام وأنت تخوض حروبك فكر بغيرك من يطلبون السلام وأنت تسدد فاتورة الماء فكر بغيرك من يرضعون الغمام وأنت تعود إلى بيتك فكر بغيرك لا تنس شعب الخيام وأنت تنام وتحصي الكواكب فكر بغيرك من لم يجد حيزا للمنام وأنت تحرر نفسك بالاستعارات فكر بغيرك من فقدوا حقهم في الكلام وأنت تفكر بالآخرين البعيدين فكر بنفسك قل ليتني شمعة في الظلام ليتني شمعة في الظلام.
Are you still an optimist? Do you still believe there's a chance for peace between us and the Palestinians?
I don't think there's another alternative. Neither for the Palestinians, nor for us. The only alternative is an ongoing war. But contrary to what people think, in war there are no victories, only victims. No war is ever finished unless it's being replaced by peace.